Hi, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Pass the Mic, a show that spotlights the accomplishments, the paths, the successes, and sometimes it's the struggles of women in sports and sports media. I'm Peggy Kusinski, host of season 2 here on Pass the Mic. And if you're a fan of the show, please let us know by giving us a thumbs up on the YouTube page that you're watching us on. And don't forget to follow us and subscribe as well. Tell your friends about it. We have lots of great episodes that you may have missed from last year with John Buffone and Alyssa Barbieri, or even this year's episodes when I started hosting earlier in the season here on the Barroom Network. Great conversations you will want to check out. Maybe binge on one of these cold winter nights that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So Pass the Mic was created with one simple yet very important goal: to feature women in sports and sports media. Now, we often highlight their struggles along with their successes because we believe that through open and honest discussion, we can impact many women and even men in and out of sports. Our guests come from all over, not just Chicago, but they are nationwide and sometimes all over the world too. From veterans in their industry to newbies just getting started, everyone has a story. And this week, our guest has a story as well. She is now in her 13th season covering NFL football for the NFL Network. It is former professional basketball player Stacey Dales who is joining us on Pass the Mic. Hi, Stacy. Welcome to the show.
Peggy, it's so wonderful to be with you and Aldo. And I'm just so thrilled. I mean, you know this about me. So honored to be with you, who's just iconic and you know what we've done for so many years. But when I came to Chicago, you were one of those women that was like a powerhouse. And so I'm just thrilled to be with you.
Oh my God, I love it. And you could do on the basketball court what I couldn't do because you were a 6-foot guard and I was a cherry picking little Polish girl on the Northwest side that just looked for the outlet pass over half court every day and got my 18 a game. And
That's pretty good. 18 a game, isn't it?
Yeah, but on the Northwest side of Chicago, you know, it is what it is. Stacey, this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show, because what I love about your background is you talk football for a living.
And he said he believes he has a team that can put things behind them. And he reminded all of us of how they started the season.
And when I started covering the Bears, I don't know if you remember Kozlowski. Glenn Kozlowski said to me, he was a special teams ace. I was asking a question, and I want to say it was like my first or second year. And he said, did you play sports? And I thought, oh boy, here we go. I'm going to get the question of, you know, you don't know what you're talking about if you didn't play football. And I said, well, yeah, I played basketball and volleyball and softball. And he said, I could tell you played sports by that question. And I thought, like, I've never forgotten that because there's so many things you can draw from. Not saying that you have to have played sports, but you had a very successful career in basketball, playing professionally. So how much has that actually helped you in your career now as a reporter?
Well, I can relate on every level to what you're saying because I think it's huge. It's extremely advantageous. And you said it best. I mean, you don't have to have that sports background, but what it does is it teaches you that there are so many ups and downs in sport. And it's, you know, the greatest teacher of success and failure is, you know, a little kid learning how to win and lose, right? And you carry that through life in every aspect, whether it's on the playing field, in a sports realm, or in any job that you do in any industry that you're a part of. And I think sports has always taught me that, and it's taught, you know, athletes that, and then you transcend sort of where you were athletically at one time, because we all get older, and you carry those traits into what you do. So I took my basketball career, my first sport was soccer, every sport, track and field, with me in different elements of my life. To your point, then you have a better concept of how to ask questions because you've been in, maybe it's not the NFL. I mean, I've never played in the NFL, never coached in the NFL, but there's a level of empathy, Peggy, that I think empathy is so important in the world. And I think it's lacking in a lot of areas, but when you have it, you can be relatable. And so you can understand that, hey, it's a good situation, a bad situation. And now maybe I know how to frame the question as you have always done so well. So it does help, and it makes a difference. And it also helps garner more respect from a lot of the individuals we cover, the coaches and players that we work with. So I think it goes a long way. And that's when they find out that you played sports, right? To your point.
That's what I was going to ask you. When they find out, did you ever get the opposite effect, where they thought you were just, oh, this broad's coming in here asking a question. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and then they find out that you were a professional athlete. Tell me a story where that happened.
Well, I kind of think it's funny, like, for me, because I started at ESPN so gratefully, and I covered so much in terms of basketball, analytically and reporting. And then I sort of transitioned into college football and more basketball. And I kind of liked in the NFL that they didn't know anything about me playing basketball, because it allowed me to develop my prowess journalistically without having some other, well, you were an athlete. So then once they figured out, oh, she's both, then it was like, oh, there's like an elevated then respect, right? I don't know if I have one story, but I would say recently I was in the Bears press room, and it was so funny because I did play for the Chicago Sky, and they just won a WNBA championship, and I couldn't be happier for them. And the journey they've been on, Peggy, like 16 years. And I was on the inaugural team and humbly scored the first basket. To my knowledge, somebody told me that, and I'm rolling with it.
Wow.
And, well, it's so funny because we're in this presser, and Justin Fields is in there, and he does his presser. And Larry Mayer, who, has been with the Bears for a couple decades, as far as journalistically, he's awesome. And he goes to Justin Fields, because Justin went to one of the WNBA playoff games for the Sky, right? We saw him there with his teammates. And he's like, do you know who scored the first basket for the Chicago Sky? Justin Fields, what is he, 22? And he's like, no. And he pointed at me. And I'm just like mortified.
Oh,
but then I was so proud, and I pretended like I didn't hear it. And I could just kind of peripherally see that he was smiling. And it's just cool, because as we get older, these players get younger. And I think there's always that connection, though, of having been an athlete. So it's, that was kind of cute. And I don't know, I'm proud of the journey. It's been quite a journey. It's been a long journey, but I'm really grateful for it.
There's another connection that I think maybe gives women reporters sometimes an advantage. And that is, as a woman in the industry, you're still a minority in the industry. And you do have an empathy for athletes who are minorities going through whatever it is that they might be going through. And I do think that there is an advantage, and it's not just, asking the touchy-feely questions, but there is just a natural struggle of understanding the struggle that people can go through, that I do think women reporters can have an advantage. Do you feel that you have an advantage in some ways that the men do not when you're asking questions?
It's a great question by you. I think I feel advantage because of who I am as a person. You can probably relate to that. While I've been sort of groomed through my sports career to be tough, and then you go through as a woman in this industry, and you've got to be very businesslike, and you've got to carry your shoulders high. And I'm a very sensitive individual and a very empathetic individual. And so for me, I can't answer for all women, but for myself, there is that element of changing the tone of who you are, because that's who you are. I always say, you can't teach kindness. You either have it or you don't. And I think that resonates when you do any job you do in life. And so for me personally, I hope that my humility as a human being comes through with my job. And again, you try to keep emotion out of it a little bit, but I do think as a woman, and especially in the time that we're in, with so many minorities fighting to be seen, deservingly to be seen, there is that empathetic sort of, I see you and I get you, and I may not be who you are, but I have such an appreciation for the struggle. And some struggles are harder than others. But I always say at the end of the day, everybody's fighting a battle. So if a mistake is made, if something wrong has been said, you can fix it, you can rectify it. There's always a second, in my mind, third and fourth chance. So I guess that's kind of how I approach it. I don't know if I answered the question, but that's kind of how I see it.
Well, I love it because, everyone says, you brought up everyone has a struggle, and it's true. It's like when we say everyone has a story, everyone does have a struggle. And what people see on the TV screen, whether it's an athlete, making millions of dollars and enjoying the limelight, or it's, a beautiful reporter who's smart and intelligent and, has it all, everyone has had their struggles. So can I just ask you, like, what was your biggest struggle throughout your career?
Oh, goodness. Where do I start? I think, well, just transitioning and being thrust into, I think the biggest challenge in my career was being thrust from, at ESPN, I was there for 7.5 years, wonderfully. And then I took a hiatus. I was broken down. I was burnt out. I went through a divorce. I went through and this was all kind of like now approaching my late 20s, where I didn't know how to handle things. I still didn't even know who I was as an individual. So then I took about a year off, and NFL Network called me and they thrust me right into Game Day Morning as a host. And Peggy, had never hosted. So that was very humbling to be, to go from being an analyst to a reporter to now hosting our marquee show on Sundays, and realizing from the humility of it that I wasn't very good at it. To fail, or to, failure is a very, it's a very final word. So I don't know if we always just fail, but to struggle and to go through the adversity of having to learn so quickly, that was really challenging. And then I just think I would tell you the other thing is just being a woman, just still the inequities that we go through and that we face as women. There's still pay equity issues. There's still, what if you want to call it unequal pay. I mean, I don't know what everybody makes in the industry, but there's still opportunity issues. And opportunity can be so many different things that women aren't afforded that maybe others are. So I think that I'm proud of where I've come. I'm definitely humbled by it, but it's definitely been a journey, I would say, and I'm sure you can relate.
Oh gosh, please. How in the heck did you handle struggling with your career publicly on a national network? I mean, we tell young people all the time, you go to a small market, go there, make your mistakes. I could probably tell you every mistake I have made on the air over my entire career. We as women, we just don't forget those. We internalize them, and so many men will just brush it off and be like, I mispronounced his name. Oh, I said this instead of that. They don't think anything of it, but we internalize it. And then to have it done in front of, a national audience, I really commend you to be able to just soldier on, because that is not easy.
Yeah. And there's worse things in the world. Like, we're not saving lives, right? I mean,
I know.
But when you're standing on a set and you've never really done that, so you learn on the fly, right? So that's why I'm like, put the rookie quarterbacks in, let them figure out how to win in the National Football League, right? Like, just let them go, unleash the stallion. But when you're standing there in your first year somewhere on national television, and this literally happened to me, Peggy, I believe I was hosting Total Access on one evening, and we were very young as a network, and I was obviously in my infancy there, and I don't ever use a teleprompter. I don't like teleprompter. I don't report with a teleprompter, and so that was a huge adjustment, learning how to use a teleprompter when I started in studio. And it, as you know, it's a knack. You have to figure out the flow of it. The people that do it every day make it look so easy, and I had never really done it until this year. So I've done it a few times, but really I was thrust into it, and my teleprompter showed up blank. And The copy was
Oh,
wrong. And I'm standing there for a lead and there's no prompter. Somebody didn't throw the prompter up. And so I had nothing to go with. And I was so new to the NFL. I didn't know even what to say. So I just kind of talked my way through it. I don't even
oh,
remember the storyline. I don't
oh
remember what the
gosh.
lead was, but I stood there like and froze, but then I kept going. And so one of the things I tell young journalists, whether you're using a prompter or you're not, whatever you forgot to say, nobody else will know you were going to say it. So whatever you forgot to say or include in your report, whatever it is, the people watching will never know you were going to include it anyways. So don't worry about it. Move on and roll. And so I've kind of always, done my job that way in some respects on television. And I had to use that then.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's like a nightmare. That's like when you have those recurring nightmares. It's that you show up in studio and either you don't have makeup on or you don't have a script or there's no teleprompter, but that was real life for you. Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah.
my Lord. So I did I read that you have Raynaud's syndrome? Do you have Raynaud's?
I do. I was diagnosed when I was my first year with the Washington Mystics. So I was like 22, I think, and it's a cold hand and limb symptom. So I would be freezing playing basketball, and I went through my college career not understanding it, and well, they figured out it's like you have Raynaud's phenomenon or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
and so I had to start figure out ways to get warm when I played. I would carry around a hot water pack or whatever it was.
But now we see you now you're based out of, are you still in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're
Still in
based out of
Chicago.
Chicago, so you get a lot of Midwest assignments. You're in
Hmm.
the frozen tundra of Soldier Field. You're at Lambeau Field, below zero. I have girlfriends that I play platform tennis in the winter with that they can't feel their fingertips because they have Raynaud's, and
Yeah.
it's painful. What people don't realize is it's not just that you can't feel your fingers, but that it's very painful. How in the world does this affect you in your job covering Midwest football teams in the middle of winter?
Yeah, I have so many tricks now, Peggy. Like, when I'm in Green Bay, like I think the coldest game I've ever done in the NFL was in Minnesota. It was like a negative 35 to 40-degree wind chill, which
Oh my gosh.
it's like you're in the North Pole. It's just that cold. I think part of the problem the Raynaud stuff stemmed from me being from Canada, in a rural part of Canada and originally, and my brother and I would go outside and we would play for hours because you become so acclimatized to the winter. It's like summer in a way. So you go out without your gloves and your mittens on, or they're wet, so you can't wear them. You take them off when you're playing road hockey, which we did all of those things. And you come in and maybe have a little bit of hypothermia. So I'm not sure if I had a little damage when I was a kid, but it may be part of why I went through what I had with the Raynaud's. But yeah, I layer it up. I
Wow.
have all the warmers. I have electrical things for my feet. If it's really
Hmm.
bad, I'm probably 4 layers deep in a Green Bay game, typically in the winter in December, January. So,
Oh my
but
gosh.
hey, I'll take it.
Right.
There, as I said before, there are worse things.
Right, right. So this girl from Ontario, Canada, ends up at Oklahoma. At Oklahoma. Now, I just have to do this just because my daughter made this for my son, who is a sophomore at
Oh no!
yeah.
Oh
At Texas. But you guys got the upper hand
no!
this year.
I know. Am I supposed to do this, or is that even hook 'em horn? That is so funny. You know what's funny though, Peggy? I don't tell anybody, but I love Texas.
Oh.
I think the University of Texas is awesome, just not when we play them. I mean,
Yeah.
Austin, Texas is amazing. So I'm sure you enjoy your visits there. But yeah, we had some battles for sure. Hook 'em horns, maybe not.
So you're a member of the Hall of Fame at Oklahoma. Did you play others? You said you played soccer. Was that your first sport, and track and field? Were you just one of those kids that played everything?
I kind of was. I kind of was. Soccer was my first sport, and it was probably my best sport. But I got really tall, and basketball was my passion. So I had to make a decision. My family didn't have a lot of money, so we were in house leagues, and they started up a girls' house league basketball program, and I joined it because I loved basketball. And then in the midst of all that, in the summer, I was a jumper. I did high jump, triple jump, long jump, and loved it. So, but yeah, basketball was my thing. Once I figured out that I could pass the ball and create open, easy opportunities for other people, I realized it was my thing, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's kind of how I stuck with it.
You mentioned that you scored the first points for the Chicago Sky in their inaugural season. I should tell our audience that Stacy was, were you the third overall draft pick? And can I say the year? Is that okay?
I can't hide it. I cannot hide my age.
Especially now with the internet.
I'm embracing it. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Okay, 2002, third overall pick by the Washington Mystics. You had a really great WNBA career. You really did. What were the biggest obstacles as an athlete that you had to overcome?
I would have liked to have a longer WNBA career, and I would have liked to have won a championship. We made it in college to the national championship game. We fell short to Connecticut. And then when I went to the WNBA, we had a fantastic playoff team, but we just couldn't get over that hump. So I never got to win a championship. And then injuries truly ravaged my career. But then alongside that, I started TV right after I finished college. And I went through my rookie WNBA season, and ESPN called and said they were doing auditions and would I be interested in auditioning. And so I started working in television a year after college, and I haven't stopped since. And it took over my career. I can remember, Peggy, covering men's college basketball. And I would travel to do like an ACC game. Let's say it was Wake Forest, North Carolina, or, Duke, North Carolina. And I would have to take my basketball gear and train and find an auxiliary gym because I didn't go overseas. I did TV. And a lot of women go overseas because the WNBA season's only 5 months. That became unmanageable for me to have two jobs for several years doing this. And so I played 5 or 6 years or whatever it was, and I was doing TV the entire time. And it was too much. So I had to make a decision, and I chose TV.
Well, last question to you. I was out of town when the Chicago Sky won the WNBA championship, but I wish I had taken a picture of my reaction when I went online and I saw the crowds that were at Wintrust Arena for the championship game, and at the parade and the rally. It's taken so long to get to this point. You must have just been incredibly happy to see, now we just need to see that for the entire season and not just for, a championship playoff run. But what it can do for women's sports right now is really huge, if they can capitalize on it.
I agree. I was so elated that the Sky won. I mean, Michael Alter picked me up from the airport, basically the owner of the team, and when I was a member in the first season in 2006, and was such a wonderful supporter to me. I mean, people that are still with the team, Ann Crosby, one of the greatest strength coaches I've ever worked with, is with that team. And so when they won, Michael's brother Harvey, I just couldn't text them, and I was just so happy for them. And to see the crowds, I mean, to understand, we were at the UIC Pavilion when I was there, and it was so small and self-contained. And now to see the way they've come together, and then the team basketball, just the quality of WNBA basketball is phenomenal. The team ball that Chicago played was just, with Vandersloot and Quigley and Parker, and just so fun to watch. So I'm really pumped for them. I'm excited for the city of Chicago. I hope they can win another one next year.
It's been so great to celebrate them, and I really wanted to remind people that you were part of them back in the day, not just a great reporter for NFL Network, a great ambassador for women. You have it all, and kudos to you. Seriously, thank you for everything that you have done. Absolutely, we love having you on the show too. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy, so much. I told you when we started, it's an honor to be with you, and I love what you're doing for the women's platform. So I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Well, one day when you're not working 364 days, and that one day that you're sleeping, you and we need to go out and have a glass of wine or two, and say the things we couldn't say on the show. No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? No, I have so many stories, and by the way, my Napa is Silver Oak. It's like the best, and that's I will die on a cross for that. That stuff is so good. But I would love that. Just text me anytime I can ever help too. Just text me.
You got it. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for joining us, and we will be right back with the mic drop.
Really understanding the difference between empowerment and agency versus objectification, and the difference is always who has the power. If I choose that I feel my best and I look my best and I'm the most confident in a certain outfit, then I am empowering myself to make that choice and to tell you that I'll show you who I am and let you know who I am. You can't make those decisions based off what I'm wearing. But if it's objectification because the producers or directors or whoever runs the show is saying you have to wear a dress every show and high heels have to be this high, you have to dye your hair blonde, it's a very different thing, right? So right. I do think we have to remember that, because a lot of people will look at women who are stepping into their own sexuality and accuse them of not being also allowed to talk about harassment and other things. They're very different things. It's about choice and power.
And now to the mic drop. Wow. I love Stacey Dales even more now after getting to talk to her than when I just knew her as a reporter with NFL Network. What an incredible story she has, from a Hall of Fame career at Oklahoma and the WNBA as a professional athlete, and then thrust right into becoming a reporter at ESPN and covering college football, and not her number one sport. I absolutely love her story, her persistence, her intelligence, her personality is so fantastic. She's had to overcome a lot, and you can't underestimate going through a divorce, young, trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And this is what a lot of athletes go through. And the fact that she was going through that somewhat publicly and trying to figure out her direction in life and doing it so successfully is really amazing. And not to mention the fact that she has Raynaud's syndrome, which, the coldness. So if you don't understand, it's people with Raynaud's, they don't just have, their fingers get cold, their toes get cold, their extremities get cold. They can't feel them, and they are incredibly painful, and you're susceptible to frostbite. And you think about it, next time you see her in the middle of December in Minnesota and Green Bay and Chicago doing these games, I mean, like she said, yeah, a lot of people have it much, much worse, but it's just not as easy as she makes it look. I love what she said about the WNBA and the sky and how much the game has changed and how much success this team is having almost 20 years after she was drafted into the WNBA, and she scored the first points. I hope you guys end up loving Stacey Dales as much as I loved getting to know her. Eldo, our producer, reminded me of a story that ESPN did in which they came up with diversity stats on inclusion in sports and when it comes to men and women in the industry. 83% of all sports editors are men. 75% of basically bosses in sports media are men. The numbers of sports reporters, it's like 80% are men. So to be successful as a woman is not a given. And it's not based on your looks, it is so much more. And when we recognize that, these women have really, really overcome great obstacles to be successful and to get you to hear what they're saying and the words that they are saying and not just looking at them. We need to do more to give women these opportunities. And with that being said, because Stacy is such a big supporter of what we believe here at Pass the Mic, I wanted to put in a little personal plug. You guys have all heard me talk about this before. Girls in the Game, I sit on their board of directors, and it is a organization that I am passionate about, and I truly believe in their mission. And that mission is to help the whole girl. And we do that through programs that are sports, health, and leadership oriented. And if you believe what Stacy said, what sports did for her, and the lessons that she takes out of it in being successful in her post-sports career on the court, then you too can help other girls in the future become the next generation of female leaders. Girls in the Game is having their annual appeal, and we need your help. We need you to give, and it can be $10, it can be $20, because every dollar helps girls with our programs that we operate to help them become successful, to give them the confidence, to teach them how to win and how to lose in life. And we do that through the programs at Girls in the Game. So I hope that you will join me in supporting Girls in the Game. And women like Stacey Dales, when she said that her family really didn't have the means for her to go to these, private camps and things like that, that's exactly what Girls in the Game is about, exposing girls to opportunities that they may not otherwise have. And we do that through sports and health and leadership programming. So on behalf of all the Stacey Dales out there and all of these 20,000 girls that Girls in the Game has helped over the years, I thank you in advance for considering that. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody else that has helped us. You who are making this show so successful, continue to click the thumbs up button on YouTube when you are watching us. Continue to spread the word if you are listening to us, and tell your friends and share the links to us as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Peggy Kusinski, or on Facebook, Peggy Kusinski, NBC Chicago, and on the gram at NBC Peggy. This isn't the only show that I am hosting. There is also a podcast I do with my son, Chicago's Sportscaster and Her Son, also here on YouTube and the Barroom Network on Podbean. That's the audio version of our show. Wherever you get your podcast audio, you can find the Sportscaster and Her Son. Check it out, and don't forget to subscribe to both shows. Thanks to Stacey Dales of the NFL Network. You can follow her on the air for her pregame programming all week long on social media at Stacey Dales. That's Stacy with an E and Dales with an E as well. Thanks to my producer, Aldo Gandia, as well, for always making me and the show look so darn good and better than it actually should. Thank you guys all for watching. We will see you next time on Pass the Mic.